A deeply religious young woman from Germany, Anneliese began experiencing terrifying visions, seizures, and disturbing behavior in her teens. Believing she was possessed by multiple demons, her family and two priests performed 67 exorcisms over 10 months, until Anneliese died of malnutrition in 1976. Her death led to a controversial trial that questioned the line between faith and mental illness. The Exorcism of Emily Rose dramatizes this chilling case, blending horror with courtroom drama and forcing audiences to ask, was it possession or something far more human? Let's find out tonight on The Midnight Files. Welcome to The Midnight Files, where the strange, the supernatural, and the sinister come to light long after the world has gone to sleep. I'm your host, Brian, and tonight we're diving into one of the most terrifying cases of alleged demonic possession ever recorded. A case that ends in death, exorcisms, and decades of controversy. This is the story of Anneliese Michel. Before the horror, before the possession, before the trials, the tapes, and the exorcisms, there was just a girl, a daughter, a student, a devout young woman with quiet dreams. Her name was Anneliese Michel. She was born on September 21st, 1952, in Bavaria, in West Germany. The Michel family was deeply religious, Roman Catholic to the core, living a modest life in a rural, post-war Germany. Anneliese's parents, Joseph and Anna, raised their children in a home rooted in discipline, tradition, and unwavering faith. When Anneliese was still young, the family moved to the nearby town where Joseph built a home and continued working as a manager for the local sawmill. The Michels weren't wealthy, but they were tight-knit. Anneliese grew up with three sisters, surrounded by countryside, community, and catechism. She was described by those who knew her as shy, gentle, and deeply devout. She prayed regularly, attended Mass multiple times a week, and even slept on the floor as penance. Her devotion went beyond what most teenagers would ever consider. Her teachers admired her. Her friends liked her. She was the kind of girl who'd blush at compliments and help clean the church after service. But even within her seemingly peaceful world, there were shadows. Her mother, Anna, had a complicated past. She had given birth to a child out of wedlock before marrying Joseph. Something deeply taboo in their conservative Catholic community. Because of this, Anna felt the sting of shame and redemption, and she may have projected some kind of guilt onto her daughters, especially Anneliese, who seemed to bear the family's sins through prayer and self-denial. Despite the weight of her faith and the rigid expectations around her, Anneliese led a relatively normal life. She played the accordion, she enjoyed school, and looked forward to attending university. But something changed in her teenage years. In 1968, at just 16 years old, Anneliese experienced her first unexplained medical episode, a sudden blackout, followed by a terrifying seizure. Doctors soon diagnosed her with a temporal lobe epilepsy, a condition that affects the brain and can lead to hallucinations, personality changes, and intense spiritual experiences. Still, Anneliese pushed forward. She graduated high school and enrolled at university, studying education and theology. She wanted to become a teacher, perhaps even work with special needs children. Her faith remained strong, her family was proud. But the seizures continued. And then they got worse. She began to experience dark visions, shadowy figures, voices whispering to her in the night. Her once bright world began to crumble under the weight of something she couldn't understand, and that medicine couldn't cure. What followed would be a descent unlike any other the modern world had seen. Before she became a symbol of demonic possession, before the exorcisms, she was Anneliese, a daughter, a believer, a girl just trying to find peace in the world that was quickly unraveling around her. By 1973, Anneliese Michel's life had become a waking nightmare. The seizures had returned with brutal force, but what terrified Anneliese and her family wasn't the convulsions. It was what came afterward. She began to see demonic faces, twisted, snarling things that stared at her from the corners of rooms, through windows, even from the faces of people she knew. She heard voices, relentless and cruel, whispering in the dark. "You will burn. You belong to us." Her behavior changed. She became aggressive, violent. She would tear off her clothes, growl like an animal, urinate on the floor. She ate flies, spiders, coal, and even bit the head off a dead bird. Anneliese began to scream for hours at a time, especially at night. Her family said her voice no longer sounded human. She spoke in guttural tones, deep, unnatural, and at times, multiple voices at once. She rejected all things holy. She couldn't stand to look at a crucifix. She recoiled from holy water like it burned her. She refused to eat food that had been blessed. Her family took her to countless doctors and psychiatrists. She was prescribed antipsychotic medications, but they seemed to have no effect. If anything, things got worse. By 1975, Anneliese and her family were convinced this wasn't epilepsy. This wasn't schizophrenia. This was demonic possession. They turned to the Catholic Church. At first, the church was hesitant. Exorcisms were rare and tightly regulated after the Vatican II reforms. But after observing Anneliese, two priests, Father Arnold and Father Ernst, petitioned the bishop for permission. He agreed. And so began one of the most harrowing exorcism rituals of the modern age. Between September 1975 and June 1976, 67 exorcism sessions were performed, each session lasting hours. They followed the Rituale Romanum, the Church's ancient rite of exorcism, invoking the name of Christ, the Virgin Mary, and Saint Michael the Archangel. Anneliese claimed to be possessed by 6 demons: Lucifer, Cain, Judas, Adolf Hitler, Nero, and a disgraced priest named Fleischmann from the 16th century. Each spirit reportedly spoke through her, sometimes simultaneously, other times fighting for control. She growled, she cursed, but there were also moments of clarity, moments where she prayed, begged for forgiveness, and even told her priests she was willing to suffer for others' sins. Her body deteriorated rapidly. She stopped eating. She was racked with injuries from constant kneeling, thrashing, and self-harm. Her knees were shattered. She was covered in bruises, scratches, and sores. By the summer of 1976, she barely weighed 68 pounds, but she refused medical treatment, telling her family she didn't want doctors. She wanted to fight the demons on her own terms. On July 1st, 1976, Anneliese Michel died in her bed. The official cause of death: malnutrition and dehydration. Her death sparked an international media frenzy. The priests and her parents were put on trial in 1978 for negligent homicide. The court heard the exorcism tapes, saw the photos, and heard testimony from doctors and clergy alike. The jury found the parents and priests guilty, but gave them light sentences, 6 months probation. But to this day, the debate rages on. Was Anneliese Michel a deeply disturbed young woman, failed by the medical system and manipulated by religious extremism? Or was she a martyr, a vessel of spiritual warfare, whose suffering was very, very real? The tapes still exist. So does her grave, which has become a pilgrimage site, and the legend of Anneliese Michel continues to haunt the world of faith, medicine, and the unexplained. Thanks for joining me tonight on the Midnight Files. I hope you enjoyed tonight's tale of true demonic possession. Come back next time. Until then, good night.